There was something less than unity involved in coming to that decision because it took 10 years to get there. A frustrated quote from the Guild minutes of September 1888 states that by the look of things, the new parish hall should be resigned to the vestry women of the 20th century. If you look towards the arched window in the center over there, that was the original doorway and entryway to the original parish hall from 1898. The rectory, located over on West 3rd Street, which is adjacent to the property, is actually one of the few remaining limestone residences left in Monroe. Trinity's rectory changed locations throughout the 19th century, starting first at the corner of Island and O'Brien Street, and that house still stands. Then it ended up in a log house purchased by Francis Navarre, that stood currently in front of what we know as the Sawyer House today, and then ended up, the last rectory before this one was on Scott Street. Some of you may have seen this wonderful photograph that exists of the Navarre log house with all kinds of building material around it that would eventually become the Sawyer House. The turn of the 20th century saw continued prosperity despite challenges provided by Mother Nature. The Great Flood of March 1908 saw the River Raisin reach all the way to the steps here of Trinity. And in July of that same year, 1910, lightning struck the church tower and burned it right down to the stone line. Just a few charred roof framing members and a few shingles that were all left behind. But quick repairs must have taken place because on September 18th of that same year, the new Smith Memorial windows, commissioned by Tiffany Studios, were dedicated. So again, please take time to admire those when you go through the church today. With the outbreak of World War I in 1914, the Trinity Guild did a great deal of sewing and knitting and prepared boxes of clothing for relief in Europe. And beginning in 1917, with the U.S. entry into the war, Monroe Street became one of the direct routes of the Army supply trucks, and by 1918 became a very busy trucking route in support of the war effort. The trucks actually ran past the church day and night. Very quickly, the ever resourceful women of the Trinity Guild opened an impromptu restaurant in the parish hall, making use of their new kitchen, and they actually served hot meals for a nominal fee around the clock. The money they raised allowed them to actually electrify the church and undertake another renovation in early 1920. Trinity remained strong throughout the Depression years and continued its tradition of community service. Ideas for further expansion and improvements began in 1941. Among the more radical ideas was actually demolishing the stone rectory to gain the land needed for the new buildings they wanted to put up. But the start of World War II, shelved all the plans, and would not be till the early 1950s that new plans for a large-scale improvement would begin again. The fundraising campaign ended in mid-1955, and this new parish hall construction began that spring and was completed the following fall. The building, with its slick sort of mid-century modern design, which actually complemented the 19th century Gothic church very well, today enjoys renewed favor as this retro post-war style architecture has gained appreciation once again. Since then, Trinity Episcopal Church, like so many of our other fellow churches, has seen its ups and downs. Further extensive improvement and restoration projects have taken place over the years. Among them, the replacement of the slate roof in 1986, which in my mind is an amazing testament to the dedication of this congregation. Our numbers are fewer now, but the faithful few remain, and again, the present state of the church is a true testament to the dedication of this congregation to preserve this beautiful building. And as I was stated at the beginning, Trinity is not a preserved static museum, but rather a living entity where all parts of its long history, including here and now, coexist in harmony, each generation leaving their mark. This historical marker can now share with the entire community what we here at Trinity have known for generations, the important history that is preserved here. So again, thank you all for coming today. And now, if I could ask all members of the congregation to come forward for the unveiling.
Vargas the car.
Good, Dorothy. I've got your money. Oh,
Yep, we do. All right, now at this time, we're going to invite Edna Hultberg, a longtime member of Trinity, to officially read the text of our marker. Yeah, just talk about it.
anytime you want, Mom.
The Reverend John O'Brien became Monroe's first Episcopal rector in late 1831. Early the next year, he and a small congregation began building Trinity Church on what is now Loringer Square. Funds came from Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, as well as the congregation. The first service in the wood-framed church was held on February 3rd, 1833. Before daylight on March 18th of 1868, a disastrous fire that engulfed part of Monroe's business district destroyed the church. The congregation turned to Gordon W. Lloyd to design this church, which includes one of the few items saved from the fire, the baptismal font. The cornerstone was laid on June 24, 1868, and services began in the fall of 1869. Trinity Episcopal Church features locally quarried Monroe limestone and Sandusky bluestone. The press noted bright sunshine streaming through the richly stained windows in a flood of mellow light at its February the 1st, 1871 dedication. The windows honor early parishioners. Most were designed by George L. Burns. The three-paneled Smith window in the front of the church celebrated Major Henry Smith, who died in 1847 in the Mexican War, and his brother, General Joseph Smith, who served in that war and the Civil War. The Smith windows, damaged by a storm, were replaced by Tiffany Studios with Supper at Emus in 1910. The church added a parish hall and rectory in 1898 and the new parish hall in 1956.
Thank you, Edna. And that concludes our dedication ceremony. Invite everyone to join us in the parish hall for refreshments and to tour the church and look at the tasty windows. Thank you.